You have the sharp stick? Fabulous, by the way. That's one. Those are my favorite sweatshirts with the old, you know, the old school logo.
Always the old school.
Yeah.
Always.
Have you seen the back of my truck? The back window of my truck does.
It's got the old one?
Yeah, yeah, it sure does. No. In fact, the only Patriots gear that I buy, with one exception, is the old logo. I don't buy them.
Wow. And when did they do that?
Brilliant.
So,
Brilliant. I'm going to tell you the truth, Christy. That was originally my seat. I switched with them. I know. I'm a bad man. Just ask around. I know. My kid was at one.
It's just gonna get really icy.
I'm sorry, what? Spoons work? Hold for snow. Wasn't aware of that particular This is environmentally sound, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know, I asked that.
Doesn't count as a laptop if you need two people. Right. Do you have a trailer for it? Trailer hitch in your car? It should be.
She does flaps with her laptop. Okay. The meeting is called to order, and I am going to take the charge of the first part of the meeting as your vice chairman. And so right now I would ask you all to stand and
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
we'll all be seated. So now it is my pleasure to read our mission statement. Founders Academy is a public chartered school encompassing grades 6 through 12 that is free and open to all New Hampshire students. The Academy develops leaders who understand and apply the lessons of the past, demonstrate exceptional character, and lead by example. The Academy recognizes the importance of balance in the development of the whole person and impacts each student's journey. All right, and now, I guess, I don't know, I might have done this in the wrong order. I think we should stand for our moment of silence. Thank you. I would like to propose that we switch the order of business because we have two external members whose terms have lapsed, and we'd like to replace them or nominate them so that we have them as voting members. So I would like to entertain a motion to switch item 7A to item 1.
So moved.
Second. So the motion has been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So there are two openings for these external board members, and I would entertain a motion for a member to be nominated for the first opening.
I would like to nominate Barbara Comtois, who has agreed, if nominated and voted in, will serve a 2-year term.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second, absolutely.
Okay. Is there a discussion?
Just to add, Barbara's also agreed to continue serving as treasurer if the board would like to see that.
Any discussion beyond that? Well then, are we ready to have a vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Barbara Comtois has been successfully nominated for a 2-year term as a board, re-nominated, I should say, as a member of our board. And now we have another position open, and I would like to entertain nominations for that position.
I would nominate Robert Best.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion?
So hard not to be
So I have something to say. Thank you, Bob, for all the incredible amount of work you have done for us, for the wonderful, intelligent, informed way that you have led every one of our meetings, for just an amazing job. I've never seen a board chairman do a job such as you have done. So thank you so much. And
Thank you for those kind words. It's been my honor and privilege, and would be again if so elected.
Are we ready to vote? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Bob has been renominated. Now, how did you hear? What? Okay, so now we don't have a chairman of our board yet, so we are open for nominations for that position.
I would like to nominate Robert Best for that position. Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Robert Best, congratulations.
I guess I abstained on that last vote, but okay.
Oh, I didn't ask for extensions. So thank you very much, and I'm sure everybody will be happy as you take over your role as chairman of the board.
Thank you for so capably getting our meeting launched and for handling it for the business. Do we still require a nomination for treasurer? And so I'd open up the floor if anybody would like to make a nomination for the office of treasurer on the board.
I'll nominate Barbara Comtois as treasurer.
Nomination and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? So that's unanimous to elect her as treasurer. And I think that concludes the business under item 7A of our agenda. Without objection, let's return to our usual order. And item 1 on our agenda is our secretary's report.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm presenting
minutes from January 3rd, for our meeting that we had. And I'm also, submitting minutes from the special board meeting that we had on February 12th.
Is there any discussion regarding the submitted minutes? If there's no discussion, is there a motion that anybody would like to make regarding both sets of minutes?
I'll make a motion that we approve both sets of minutes.
It's a motion to approve both sets of minutes as
I'll
submitted.
second.
Seconded. Discussion? No discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? So that's unanimous to approve both sets of those minutes. Anything further under the Secretary's report?
No, this time, no.
Okay, that brings us to our Treasurer's report. And part of our Treasurer isn't here, but we've got yes, please do.
So I spoke to the business manager and emailed with Barbara, and a couple of things to point out about the treasurer's report that was provided is we are using the accrual method now. We're 100% over there. A couple of things to keep in mind as we do this. Revenue is done on a 9-month basis. So after careful consideration and conversations with the auditors, it was felt that we're paid for the students for the 9-month period that they're in the building. That's what we're being paid for by the state. So we've broken that down into 9-month increments. We're only 4 months into that. So when you see the revenue, that's 4 months accrued. That's the accrual method. The expenses we're still doing because they run 12 months a year where the expenses are done in a 12-month cycle. Just to refresh everybody, just to make that clear so people have that. So it looks a little upside down right now because you have 6 months worth of expenses and 4 months accrued in the revenue.
Thank you for that explanation. Any other discussion in your presentation or other discussion by members of the board on any of the items in the financial reports? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the treasurer's report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? It's unanimous to approve the treasurer's report. We are on to our dean's report on our agenda. Okay. We'll be excited to learn some of the news that you guys share with us.
Oh, there always is. Exactly. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and all of you for lending your time, both the special meeting and everything else in between. Also, a personnel committee meeting tomorrow. So again, thank all of you very much for all the time and effort spent making our school even better than it was yesterday. So, so much going on at Founders Academy. First of all, quarter 2 is now completed. The end date for quarter 2 was pushed out a bit due to snow. We had a snow day, so the date moved. It was January 28th. But we do have a new honor roll, the percentages of which are in my report. We have 15.6 for high honor roll, 36.2 for honor roll, and 10.8 for honorable mention. So I want to congratulate those students who worked so hard to attain that recognition. Our Director of Faculty, Mrs. Hayes, who's in the audience this evening, has submitted a report, very concise, but I'll read it directly to give you an update of what the faculty has been doing. On February 1st, Rick Cornell from the Mental Health Center of Manchester came to speak to the staff about signs of suicide. This was requested by teachers the week before, and we were lucky enough to book Mr. Cornell with such short notice. I might add it was the second time Mr. Cornell has addressed our faculty from the Mental Health Center of Manchester, so he was very pleased to be able to come back. He gave a variety of resources for teachers and student services to take with them for future reference, and the presentation was very eye-opening and productive for all teachers and staff. Very important for us here at the school to be aware of suicide in general, as well as various thoughts and signs of students and so on. So it was good to hear from him, who is a consummate professional on the topic. From the Director of Student Affairs, Ms. Stewart, who could not be with us tonight. She was not feeling well. But she submitted a report that was actually too big for mine. So if you click on your report, the link there on number 3, you'll get her full report, but I'll summarize it. She said student services have been working to support seniors in preparing for what comes next for them after graduation. This parent, our school counselor, has begun scheduling meetings with juniors to review their progress toward graduation and begin conversations about college and career. So we're very proud of that. In fact, you may want to take note of the new bulletin board. It's very large, right outside the student services wing, that highlights the college acceptances that have been coming in for our seniors, as well as the military branches of which our seniors plan to enter upon their graduation. A reminder too that our graduation is June 15th at 10 o'clock in the morning, and so I want to be sure that we'll have more detail on that as time goes on here, but just want to make you aware of that date and time. It's a Saturday, with a rehearsal planned for the night before for those graduating seniors and faculty who will be marching in.
June 15th.
Right. Next, department chairman report. This is a new addition to my report, and I'd like to, we're going to have a revolving schedule on it. So this way, you as board members and the public will hear from our 6 board chairs once a month on our recycling basis. And so this month it's from Ms. Marcotte, who chairs the Technology and Business Department. She too, when was asked for a blurb for my dean's report, had so much to share with you, the board members, and the public that her report was far too large and more impressive than mine to be included in its entirety. So if you click on the link in my report, you will see her full report. But I'll read the parts of it, the summary here. In computer science, we have been working to align the curriculum to the new New Hampshire State Computer Science standards. Additionally, Ms. Marcotte is pursuing the new computer science certification. There are 3 students who will be honored by the regional affiliate of NCWIT. And you may ask, what is that? I want everyone to be aware, so it's in my report, it's the National Center for Women and Information Technology. Sarah Fung and Leah Marble are honored as state-level winners, and Gabriela Alvarez as an honorable mention. So congratulations to those students and to Ms. Marcotte, who's constantly looking for new opportunities, new ways of learning, new ways for students to attend and have hands-on learning in computer science. Really a spectacular job. So next month, I think the department chair we'll let it be a surprise, but you'll hear from another department chair for an update in that academic department. Students of the quarter. Hard to believe, again, quarter 2 is complete, but we do have 2 students of the quarter, one of which is high school and one is middle school. So the students have nominated, and the department chair have chosen Aiden Martin as the high school student of the quarter, and Yara Abdallah, the middle school student of the quarter. Now those, I'm going to read in their entirety some clips here of what their fellow students have said about them. Truly, you can see after I read this in terms of just how they demonstrate the leadership code of conduct and how that character is recognized by their colleagues. So for Aiden, who is in high school, it says, Aiden is a very funny and entertaining person. He follows the code of conduct. Aiden is always helpful in our math class when I don't understand something. He is very confident and determined, and doesn't let things people say get to him. Can't we all learn from that? He always tries his hardest in school and always has a good attitude about it. That's Aiden. Yara Abdallah in middle school. Yara is such an amazing person. She's very smart, fun, and sweet. She's a great friend who cares about others. She is a hard worker and helps people when they need help. She is very kind, loyal, and trustworthy. She is a leader, coming directly from their peers. So quite impressive. Congratulations to both Aiden and Yara. I will say I was given this today, so I'm not even sure those students are aware of this.
They're not.
They're not?
They're not. I put it in my notes. Didn't tell anybody.
All right, we will definitely recognize them, and I'm glad you're all the first to know. Teacher of the Month, the school recognized Mr. Teriak in January, a very appropriate month for him, for his longtime commitment to teaching science. He came to us after, I think, a 30-plus career of teaching science at an all-boys Catholic school in Washington, D.C. And then moved here, and now we're very fortunate to have him with us. He has a very impressive space shuttle memorabilia items that are on display in his classroom. If you've never seen them, definitely take a look. It's quite impressive. And also, this is now the second year in a row that his roundtable has led the school-wide moment of silence on the anniversary of the Challenger disaster. And so for that, we're very grateful for Mr. Teriak, not only for his teaching, but his focus on school-wide events. I'll get to this later on, but his roundtable also recently held an election for a school mascot. Now, we have had a mascot election in the past. It turned out to be the Falcon. But the thought behind having the election again was that no one really did much with the Falcon. So I'll have you know that the American Bald Eagle is now the official mascot, student chosen, of the Founders Academy. And how appropriate is that? Also, the official bird of our country, mascot of our country, really. Then we have Ms. Ciccarello, who is the Teacher of the Month for February, for her help with the middle school drama play, and also works the school store every Monday, first lunch. You see, one thing you don't get to see at nighttime board meetings, of course, is all that the teachers do throughout the day. It's not just teaching, it's not just preparing, it's also duties and all sorts of things that need to be done, one of which is lunch duty, one of which is overseeing the school store for the 3 lunches that we have. And so Ms. Ciccarello always can be found there in the school store for first lunch. In fact, we announced her being Teacher of the Month at first lunch, and she was in the school store, and so the whole cafeteria was able to recognize that. And of course, as is customary, we put her picture and a write-up in the newsletter. So I said, whoever would like to be in the picture with Ms. Ciccarello at the school store, you may do that now. There was no hesitation, there was no lack of people who wanted to be in that picture, so you'll see it in this Friday's newsletter. So congratulations to both, and thank you very much for all that our faculty does. Volunteer of the Month for February goes to Jen Nelson. Jen Nelson is a new parent. I hesitate to say that word because she's been here now for 2 quarters, headed into 3. And so she has done a tremendous amount of work with the PTSA, as well as volunteering to substitute teach, which we are in desperate need of. And so she stepped up right away to help us out.
She is awesome. Like, she is such an awesome member of our community and has stepped up anytime anybody's asked. And there's even someone she can't say no to, and we'll figure that out already.
I know. The Connect Award, another example of just not only what our students are doing, but the impression that they're making on others, and their ability to take our mission and bring it outward to a point where others recognize it. The Founders FTC robotics team, which is robotics is a statewide, very important thing for our students to get involved in, and also adults as well, in terms of learning about robotics, how they work, teamwork, and so on. They recently had a huge championship statewide at Southern New Hampshire University. I was there, as was Mrs. LaValle and her husband. Mrs. Manchanda was there, but Mrs. Scarponi helps with the team. And our team, the Founders team, walked away that day with the Connect Award. And that is done for a recognition of what the team does for outreach and community service. So they do a tremendous amount of not only getting together and doing exercises in engineering and robotics, but also they do work at Families in Transition, which is a shelter here in town. There's a food bank as well that they're often at. They've gone 2 years in a row on Martin Luther King weekend to help out. And so the fact that they were recognized as a statewide championship is something that we can all beam with pride in here at Founders. The Northeast Conference on Teaching Foreign Language. You may recall in my last report I mentioned that Mr. Quigley, who's teaching us for the first time this year, was selected as the best of New Hampshire for his workshop entitled How to Use One-Word Images Effectively in the Classroom. He did that at the New Hampshire Association of World Language Teacher Conference. So as a result of that recognition, he got to present in New York City, which he did recently this month at the Northeast Conference on Teaching Foreign Language. So now here in my report, you not only get to see what impressions our students are making out in the world, but the impressions our teachers are making as well. Hugely effective things that we don't hear about too often. It's unfortunate that we don't hear about them as much as we hear about some other perceived things. So it's very important that we take this time to recognize those achievements. I'd like to thank Josiah Weekly, for he is a history teacher here at Founders in his first year at Founders, for organizing presidential trivia in observance of President's Day, which happens the Friday before President's Day. To honor that, we have presidential trivia read throughout the intercom in between classes. I want to thank those who contributed to the Annual Fund President's Club. The Annual Fund is not over yet. We have a raffle coming up in April, and also our John Stark Day breakfast, which is being planned for April the 8th. I want to thank Lauren Bruyette, who's helping once again to help organize Best Practices 2019. This is actually the third year of Best Practices. It's taking place on March 15th. And just as a refresher, it is a time when personnel from every charter school in the state comes together to give various sessions on topics related to professional development. So not only do our teachers attend, but they also present. And so it's great that we're able to host it, and again, March 15th. And then again, Mr. Terriak for coordinating the student vote, again, getting the school involved in something that they truly enjoy. You know, I am dressed today in different attire than I typically do, but that is done for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's a bit of a fundraiser. An anonymous donor has pledged $100 if I wore my favorite hoodie to the meeting today, so I'm always in a mood to try to get more money for our radio fund, certainly, so I'll do that. But I also want to point out something too. You know, here at school we have various activities, and those are propelled by Ms. Ephraimson and members of the Student Activities Committee. And they have a Hawaiian Day or Sports Day. With the Patriots winning the Super Bowl, they would frequently have Patriots Day, something by which the teachers and the students school-wide participate in. Rarely do I get to partake in those days during the day because it is so incredibly busy for me. So when I had this opportunity tonight to demonstrate kind of the school spirit that the students have shown, particularly this year, I was glad to do it. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to conclude my report. And again, I thank each and every one of you for your time, talent, and commitment to our charter school. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dean Mooney, and what a wonderful report with lots of great details about some great happenings here, and I love the hoodie. I didn't know it was hoodie day. I probably could have found one as well. Before you wrap up your report or we move on to the next item, I wonder if you would like the privilege of reporting on some of the events at the State Board of Education at their February meeting and what we hope may happen at their March meeting. Would you like to share that with the group?
I'm just going to yield that to you, but if you would like me to, it's up to you, but I'd yield that to you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm glad to do either one. I thought it was a privilege that maybe you'd want, but I'm glad to do it if you'd like.
I'd be more than happy to have you do it. Thank you.
Sure. So I'll take this opportunity to do it, even though it isn't an agenda item. As many of us know here at the board, and also people that follow along with the Founders community knows that we're due for a renewal of our charter. We've been working very hard in preparing for that. Creating some charter amendments. We had a special meeting last week to take a look at some of those things in terrible weather. It looks like we get weather again tonight later on, so we seem to be on a roll with that. It appears that the State Board may take up that charter renewal consideration very soon, and perhaps as early as their March meeting. And I think that I wanted to share that with everyone, just so we can all watch that process unfold and hopefully go forward successfully. We're all keeping our fingers crossed and working very hard to achieve that and make that happen. So that's the March news. The February news is that, as we all know, that the state board has had a bit of a backlog in handling charter renewals, and for a while now they've been pushing the ball down the road with 3-month extensions. And we were up to be considered in February for another 3-month extension to allow some more time for this process to play out. But the board did something different. And I think that they recognized that 3-month extensions could send the wrong message. And so what they did was give an extension of our existing charter that goes all the way through next school year. And the chair of the state board made a point of expressing the desire that that would offer some comfort and security to everybody in our community, that you can come to Founders and you can work at Founders and you can be involved in Founders, and we'll be here well off into the future. And so very proud that they were able to do that they wanted to kind of convey that message to our community. We're certainly not going to need that much of an extension if we end up with a renewal in March or coming shortly after that. But glad to have it, glad to have the strong message that those kinds of issues don't need to be dealt with on a 3-month at a time basis. So that's the exciting news from the state board. I wrote about it in an email that I sent out to everybody I could think of on the lists, but I did want to mention it and have it recorded in the minutes of a meeting here for us. If anyone's interested in watching that part of the State Board of Education's meeting, they do televise and post it on the website. I have not looked at it, so I don't know how to access it, but I'm sure we could find a way to get that information out if anybody's interested. I'm told we come up 3 hours and 39 minutes into the presentation. So thank you for that. So that's my addition in the middle of the agenda after the dean's report. That brings us to our faculty representatives report.
Yes. I feel a little funny because I don't have an extensive report. That might be a good thing. We're very busy here at Founders getting ready for summer clubs that are going to be happening. Spring clubs, garden clubs. We have musicals, we have theater productions. Everybody's very busy right now. It's a hive of busy bees right now. And I think that's great. I think everybody's ready for February vacation so they can recharge, which will be coming up next week. But all in all, I have nothing but good things to say. I was happy to go to the state board meeting on Wednesday. Personally, just as a person here at Founders, and talk about my support of the mission here at the school. So that was great. But other than that, I think everything is going well. I hear nothing but positive things. I haven't been able to hear a challenge yet that came from a faculty member regarding, any issues here at the school. So maybe no news is good news. That's about it.
Thank you for the positive report and the good news. And although I'm always glad to hear good news, I want to make sure everybody in the world knows that the door's open if there's ever anything that needs some attention. So.
Yes, and I did send out, just to make sure that people understood that I really am very present as far as what this the faculty representative report is all, or job is all about. I did send another reminder last month, I'm misspeaking all the way, to the entire faculty, trying to remind them that, that's what we're here for. We're happy to listen to anything that might be offered, because that's what we're supposed to be doing. And happy to engage, and so stay on that.
Well, thank you so much for the report. Next item on our agenda is our student trustees report. Do we have a written report, or we don't have one at all?
It's attached to the agenda, so if you click there, certainly you could read it, but I'll read it. Connor could not make it today, and was very good about reporting immediately that he was unable to make it today, sends his regrets, and forwarded his report. So I'll read that now. The Student Senate has continued to be hard at work to be a valuable resource to the student body. Over the past month, we hosted a student games night, which was a success. We have also started to allow at-large members, and we recently welcomed Liam Childers as a new at-large member to the Student Senate. The student body has also spoken and has voted to change the mascot from the falcon to the eagle. I believe the proposal will be presented to the board the next meeting, and I will send details of the proposal when I receive them. Connor McFarland.
Thank you so much for relaying Connor's report to us on the student trustees report. The next item on our agenda is item 6, which is board business. And there are two policies listed there under board business. I do want to initiate some discussion about policy under 6A, policy IMAH, which is our physical activity policy. But before I open up the floor for some discussion here at the board level, I do want to provide a little bit of background and a little bit of additional information. My notes indicate that this policy was before the policy committee on November 1st of 2018. And I know that in our last board meeting, our regular board meeting, we mentioned this policy and sort of teed it up for consideration here tonight. However, in the interim, when we met last time, we also indicated we would put it out there on our website for the public. Inadvertently, it wasn't posted on the website, and so while I want to discuss it, I hope that it's the will of the board to defer action on this. Let's get it posted, and we'll take it up again for adoption in March after everybody gets a chance to see it. So that's all the introduction that I care to offer about it. And with that, I'll open up the floor for general discussion of the physical activity policy. Does anyone have any discussion of it? I'll start at once.
I think it's just important to point out where it came from. It's not like we were sitting around with many policies to add. It is one of the required policies that we were asked by the state to develop and put into motion. So that's where it comes from. And the policy committee level, we looked at other local school districts to see what their policy was, and use that as our guide. And we wanted to make sure that it was not an order on anybody's behalf, whether it be teachers or parents or anybody, that you must do this. It really is just common sense things that are in here that are suggestions for things that you might want to do at home, you know, wherever students and their families happen to be. That's our case.
Thank you for giving a little bit of the background on how it's developed and what was used as a model. It certainly is worthwhile to point out that the aspirational nature of the policy, and that it isn't a command, but it aspires to encourage parents and guardians to support their children's participation in physical activities, to support special programs such as student and staff walking programs, family fitness events, and events that emphasize lifelong physical activity, to integrate health and physical activity across the school curriculum, to encourage student-initiated activities that promote inclusive physical activity on a school-wide basis, to encourage professional development opportunities for all school staff that will assist them to effectively promote enjoyable and lifelong physical activity among youth, and that will assist school staff to recognize their influence as role models for active lifestyles. To establish relationships with community, recreation, and youth sports programs and agencies to coordinate and complement physical activity programs, to support physical activity throughout the school day, and to utilize the Dean's weekly newsletter and the Director of Student Affairs weekly newsletter to promote information about physical activities and, when appropriate, suggestions for activities in the community. So that's what the policy recommends that we encourage, and we should ultimately take that up and consider whether to adopt this policy in March. I can't say for myself how important this is for folks. Encouraging more physical activity among youth is going to be something that's going to be so important going forward for all the members of the population in this country. It's such an important role in preventing major health problems that not only shorten lives but cost tons and tons of money. And as we look to try to figure out how to tame healthcare costs, nothing could be better than starting with a policy just like this and embracing it. So that's my 2 cents. Any other discussion?
Just, I'm curious, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm curious about what this looks like in the day-to-day. It's all it's kind of lofty language and wonderful intention and vision. But does anybody have any view into what this, maybe some of the administrative folks might have a view into what this looks like in the day-to-day?
I can answer that. It was explained to us by some of the Department of Education that it is a suggestion of ways to encourage physical activity throughout the day or in their lives. So the promotion of physical activity and the importance of it is kind of the spirit behind that.
Okay.
So there's no, for example, mandate that, at a particular time, everybody marches around the building or something to that effect.
Understood.
It's far more open, but nevertheless, a real campaign to make all school children aware of the importance of physical activity in life.
Okay, it's the campaign that I'm curious about, right? Well, who might do what? I mean, I'm seeing here that the Dean's Weekly newsletter will have something in it. Perfect, thank you. But I'm just kind of curious, encourage and integrate and
See if I can help again. I got
maybe
a
I'm
few more
overthinking.
cents to throw out there.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it was necessarily inspired by this policy, but at one of our parent information nights, I had the chance to sit in on Mr. Quigley's French class for a few minutes. And if you've ever had a chance to do that, there's no sitting down. As you're learning French, you're up and you're walking around and you're imitating the animals that you're learning the names of in French as you go around here. And I think it's entirely focused on being an effective way to teach French, but at the same time, everybody's up and everybody's moving and everybody's doing things. And what a great way to actually achieve some physical activity, to integrate it into something else that's going on that's interesting and fun to do, and not let's line up and do jumping jacks.
Got it.
Kind of a thing. That's my observation, and there may be others that have had different experiences that are pretty cool that way.
And we have teachers who are passionate about running, and she gets to share that openly and freely, and let's have a you're trying to help kids with the confidence. Things like that, get out and move. Miss Ephraimson with her gym classes now at the end of the day, and they're actually having fun with it.
So adoption rates will be high, is what we're anticipating.
Well, we're hoping with some extra PE equipment that we have to be purchasing for the crowd, that they might even be able to have more fun at lunch.
What are you purchasing?
So we raised some money from PTSA, and actually I bet Elizabeth will talk about it later on today, for gym equipment for the school. So we're really excited about that.
At the policy committee level, we talked a little bit about students that were aware of the 5K in the area. And so with this in place, they could go to Dean Mooney and say, we'd like you to put this in the newsletter, and maybe we could have a group of founders' families participate in that. That was from a student perspective, where that might be.
Were they not able to do that before we had a policy?
No, they could.
I'm sorry, I don't want to be the fly in the
It's
ointment.
true, but it's true. It doesn't matter whether we use the policy or not, we have to have it. And so I wouldn't worry about it.
Well, no, hardly worried about it. I'll sleep
I do think it does provide, I mean, we're all talking about it, right? And then the faculty will all discuss it, and it does become a little bit more of a focus, because now there's that thought process that might be looking, Miss E might see something going on in the community and say, hey, there's a jump rope-a-thon, who wants to do that? Like, we kind of just give it a little.
Okay, I yield.
Thank you for that. Okay, and so does the board agree not to take action tonight? We'll defer this for next time, so we'll get it posted.
Yes.
Is there anything that we need to do to make sure that it gets posted, to send it anywhere, or is that all taken care of?
We'll take care of that.
Okay. The second policy that's listed here is proposed policy TFC, which is, how much fun is this? A policy about policies.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
So this is,
Also require those, or is this something we whipped up on our own?
I don't know, I'd have to ask some of our administration about whether this is one of the.
TFC, you're on?
Yes.
That was recommended by submitted by a parent that we discussed, and take it up.
Right behind TFA, or IMAH, right behind IMAH. In your bedroom pile.
Right here.
And my
Policy on
understanding
policy
is
adoption.
the policy was recommended by a parent, it was modeled after Londonderry School District. And how they use it, it's been in use there for decades. At this point.
So this policy basically puts it out there that we will make our policies available to the public and provide enough time for feedback and so forth. So you put it up the first time, first reading, it talks about it. let people look at it, there'll be public comment, and then it will go up another time, the second time, and then after that it'll go.
So we don't do that anyway.
We do that most of the time now, but someone has put this forth as a policy.
You say go up on the website?
On the website, put it up on the projector during the meeting, the first meeting, so everybody can see it here. There'll be a link, just to make sure everybody has it.
So, if I'm reading my document correctly, this one hasn't been passed through the policy committee yet?
No, it was submitted right for the agenda.
Right for the agenda.
Policy
Okay.
hasn't happened yet.
I'm really a fan of transparency and trying to get these information out there so that people can comment on the policies. However, with that in mind, I'm also alert to the idea that charter schools are sort of by their creation or by their design intended to shed some of the administrative burden that's built around public schools, and this does sort of repeat and kind of reinforce some of those kinds of quicksand that a traditional school district manages their way through. So my suggestion for discussion here tonight is maybe something that works towards instructions on how things would be made public and posted and all of that, but perhaps not quite this much.
I'd also recommend that people go back and look at policy BG and BGB, which we approved, I believe, back in 2015, which talk about this. The creation of a policy and then how they're adopted. So we already have two
BG and
policies.
BGB.
Yep, and we may want to include some language from this, modify these, just look at it at the policy level, just have all of it considered. Because we do have some policies in place
Thank you for
regarding
looking this up.
policies.
So that's the B's and the G's and the B's and D's and C's also like boy, girl, boy, girl, boy. How about that? Boy, girl, boy, girl, boy.
That's a question.
Please.
There might be something I'm missing here, but if we have a policy committee, is there a reason why this jumped the shark and came here without going to policy committee?
Petition by parent, request by parent that we review it
So
for
immediately,
submission.
right, without going through the,
Why?
There's a policy that anybody can ask the dean to put something on the board of trustees agenda. And so this parent followed that policy. And so it was brought here.
Okay.
And I went through it as the policy chair, and my thought process was we had some other things that are similar. I definitely see a need to tighten it up and to build in some practices to make sure that we're following them as we go through. And my recommendation to us would be to punt this to the policy committee and then take it up there and make sure that we've got all of that. And I would encourage, we'll send a personal invite to that parent if they want to come to the meeting, do that, and obviously it's open to the public, but be able to have that dialogue and then come up with something that works for us now. For 2015, a little different than we've got 307 kids running around.
I think that's a good suggestion to refer this to the policy committee for some review and consideration, not just on its own face, but in conjunction with other policies that are already in existence and adopted.
Well, and I appreciate that, somebody's willing to come forward with this, because I think it's great that they, we had something in place and they used that as their vehicle to bring something up and to bring it forward, and I encourage everybody to do that. The other thing is I was reading through and knowing that we had the other policies, I'm wondering if maybe as a team we could kind of work to combine them back into one that works for us, but still gives the public enough time to review and comment and be able to, still have some time to give us some options as well.
so.
For you, 2 seconds, or no, 10 seconds. My role here on the board, as I understand it, is to bring the perspective of the business community, to this conversation. And while some things are required, which makes them no less foolish, but it is required. But I feel like a policy about policies is a little is nigh upon laughable.
Apparently, it would be our third policy about policy.
Right. So I mean, it would make a great Saturday Night Live skit to talk about the policies about policies. I think I agree with Bob. There's a certain bureaucratic. Again, I agree with Susan that parents can absolutely use the policy about bringing things to the board directly, and I applaud that with great vigor. Right, but at the same time, this feels awfully bureaucratic to me. To your point, Bob. So and with all of that said, I do support kicking it to the policy committee for further review.
Thank you.
Hang on to that real quick. I think the whole point of this is the transparency piece, making sure that things are put up in a timely manner. Sometimes, we're in a hurry, something's going on. Have a policy in place where we're slowing that down. So we're talking about it in policy. Then it goes to the board. Maybe the whole board decides not to join the policy committee at some point in the future. So all the board members have a chance to see it, and the public has a chance to see it. People have a chance to digest it, review it, offer comment, and then bring it back to the board level again with that in mind for transparency. I think just a quick glance at, what is this one, BFC from Londonderry. I think that seems to be the purpose of it. I know most schools have it. You show it twice and then you for adoption. So just a thought.
I mean, I'd just like to point out that a lot of these things we can do, we don't have policies. We can just have a sensible approach to presenting materials without blocking them in some very compulsive sort of way. So but if we already have a policy, and now we have a suggestion, we can just improve the one we have and keep it as simple as possible, I would say.
One of the reasons I'm on the policy committee is I like rules. I like the black and white nature of things, and I think.
I don't know how we get along.
I know, right? Well, it's the Disney connection.
Must be something.
But I think that for me it makes sense because I want to know what's expected of us as a group.
But we could say that without having a policy.
We could, but I like it written down.
But we could write it down without saying the policy.
I don't mind either. So I like the idea of referring it to the policy committee for some consideration, and it ultimately might produce some amendment to a different policy that adds one line, or it could be at foundation. One of the parents in our community realized that something in our way of adopting policies didn't work for them, and so they brought this idea forward as a potential solution. And even if this isn't necessarily exactly the solution, I do want to get at the fundamental problem that something didn't work in our process for one of our parents. And so that's why I support the idea of sending it to the policy committee to look at and work on it.
Agreed.
Okay, so I don't believe that a referral to the policy committee requires a vote. I think that simply not taking action on this policy item by the board is all that's necessary, but if anybody disagrees, please speak up. Nobody speaking up. We will look past item 6 on our agenda into item 7. We've already dealt with item 7A. Item 7B is resolutions. And the first one of the resolutions is on the title of school director and dean of school. Dean Mooney or Kipper, can you help me out with an introduction of this item and bring me forward to what it is that we're asking the board to do tonight?
So we have updated the titles in the charter revisions in the course of 5 years of being open. We've gone from director to dean and an assistant dean in the org chart. To be consistent or allow flexibility for those titles for the people in the roles, we are asking for this to allow for either school director and dean of school, and that person would be able to go by either title. and the same one with the assistant school director and assistant dean of school. So there was some comment that we had different titles than what the original charter had, and apparently it was concerning to some people, so we're having this resolution put before the board.
Thank you for that, and this kind of reinforces and reiterates what was in the charter revisions that we adopted last week. Okay, is there any discussion about these two? Do you want to treat these two resolutions together since they're basically similar?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so on these two resolutions, is there any discussion?
Are they redundant to the what you did last week and changing the names of the?
It reflects the revisions, basically, it's similar language. We're just doing it now with the charter, revisions are the state, so that this goes
I think, yeah, well, I'm not quite sure I ever really understood what raised concerns about the use of these titles, but my understanding is that making it clear that it's the board's intention that these are how we refer to our administrators, making a clear statement that this is our choice and that this is what we wanted to have done is helpful. And so,
Then I'd like to move that we adopt the resolutions 1 and 2 as numbered on our agenda.
is there a second? Motion properly seconded to adopt both of these resolutions. If there's further discussion, no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? One abstaining.
I'm abstaining because I didn't read the
Okay. So Kim abstained, otherwise it's a unanimous vote. Item 7C on our agenda is Public School Infrastructure Fund Grant approved. This sounds like some news we've announced already, and it's been in the email as well too. Rooney, is this your turn?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, absolutely.
Me again?
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of great things to report today.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be the bearer of good news over and over again. Sometime a few weeks ago, as you might have seen in an email that I sent out also in the Dean's Weekly newsletter to the Founders community, Founders Academy was awarded a sizable grant to help with public school infrastructure and security measures. It's an opportunity that we had applied for in the past, and now we've been granted it. I don't remember the exact dollar amount, roughly $45,000, something like that. And so we're very, very honored to have that recognition and that investment by on the state level in some of the infrastructure that we'll use that will improve our building going off into the future, enhancing safety and security and some other issues that are of vital importance to all schools these days. So I want to applaud our administrative team for keeping up with the applications and the opportunities, making sure we got our hat in the ring for them, and then to break it all down to the simplest point, bringing home the bacon. I mean, good for you guys. Thank you guys for doing that.
Also, it shows what the faith and confidence that the Department of Education has in our future.
I agree with that.
And the letter of receipt was reflective of that as well from the Department of Education. As was mentioned in your email announcing the grant in the first place.
Yes, very supportive. A letter from Commissioner Edelblut awarding the grant and recognizing the seriousness with which we take this issue. So thank you for that. Item 7D on our agenda, school dance update by PTSA President Elizabeth Sando. Good evening. Thank you for hanging out and waiting for the.
So the PTSA is pleased to be taking over and coordinating the school dances. The first dance will be held on Friday, March 8th for the high school students. It will be held from 7 to 9 p.m. We'll be rolling out the red carpet with a Hollywood theme. The cost is going to be $5 and include a drink and snack. We'll also be offering digital photography. So we're really excited about that. The next dance that we'll be planning is the middle school dance, and it will be held on Friday evening as well, April 12th from 7 to 9 p.m. And due to the quick timeline, we don't have a line item for this budget, budget for this event, so I want to mention that tonight. So as such, we are coordinating donations for baked goods and waters, which has always been done in the past, so we're trying to keep with some of that tradition. I'll be bringing it to the PTSA board meeting on March 5th, however, it is too late at this point to add a budget item. So we are looking for financial support. If anyone would like to assist in sponsoring the dance, please reach out to me or Allison Lett or Rachel Sanville. We'd be happy to help fund those funds to where they belong. Thank you, Tom. Yes?
A quick question, if I may.
Yes.
What would the budget line be if it were? How much money are we talking about?
We are hoping to do it on a very small budget, but right now it's too late to bring it before the public and have them vote because of the timeline.
Just trying to figure out how much you're trying to raise.
$200-300.
Yeah, why don't you just put my company down as a sponsor of the dance?
Thank you so much. We
Yeah.
appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, happy to help.
We do hope to help get it self-sustaining. We'd like to be able to get it self-sustaining so that it can kind of run itself. You know, we're gonna try to kickstart and Rachel's offered some support as well. And
Yeah.
Sean and Christy that helps on this pitching. So thank you so much for the sponsorship from her company. So we appreciate all that support. We want them want the students to come back and enjoy the dance. So just to update you on a couple quick other things, I guess maybe I have to do a PTSA report from now on. The penny board. So yeah, do you have any questions? Any other questions about the dance? We're really excited to be doing that.
Big thank you to Matt.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt.
And thank you. for
Thank you
doing
so much.
this.
Thank you so much. We're really
Thank you for
excited.
coordinating and organizing it. I know that this is a bit of extra effort to do two separate dances,
All good.
extra
What do you
work.
want?
Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
doing that,
Thanks
and
for making us.
don't be shy about asking for support from us either as
Thought I'd do the world.
individuals or
I
as
appreciate
what
it.
we do our best to make sure that we're supporting those things.
Thank you so much. We will also need help for setup, and other things, so I definitely will be reaching out to all of you. Thank you. A quick update then, just to, follow up. Penny Wars did run from February 4th to 15th. We raised $1,091, so we're happy to report that. Kind of in keeping with the policy that you were talking about with, that kind of really tie in real quick to PTSA about healthy lives, creating health. $500 of that money is going to go to House of Representatives for Field Day. And $500 of that is going to be for outdoor equipment, PE, recess, stuff that all kids can access. So helping to keep kids healthy, which is part of our mission and vision. So just to keep you apprised as well, the Margaritas fundraiser is coming up. So since I have you all here, that's Wednesday, 6th of March on Elm Street from 4 p.m. to close. You'll need a flyer or a digital copy that will come out in the newsletter. And we are also planning a summer send-off for May 31st, so kind of a big hoopla for the end of the year, trying to, again, incorporate the community and make this a place where people want to be and spend time.
I'm sorry, was it March 6th, you said?
6th March, yes.
That's the margaritas, and then the May 31st is the
Summer send-off. Thank you. Please reach out if you have any questions or if I can help with anything.
Thank you for your work on the things that you've announced, but also just for the role in the PTSA and doing all of that work. Couldn't do it without.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your support.
Okay, we've reached item 8 on our agenda, which is our public comment period. And let me find our policy on public comment so that I can read that. We don't have anyone signed up to make public comments. And so with that, I don't need to read the policy. I'll kind of go through that detail. That moves us on our agenda, item 9, which is a non-public session. What's the will of the board with respect to entering a non-public session? It was section 91A3 for the receiving legal advice. No. Yes, you're right. There's 91A3, something Roman 2, or something like that. Let's get it. Make sure we got it right. A3, Roman numeral 2. Now, how about that? I got it perfect for just an L. So, if someone is willing to submit a motion, the appropriate section of is 91A for non-public session is 91A3 Roman numeral L. Motion to enter non-public session for that reason, seconded. Seconded by Christie. Any discussion? Any individuals we want to make sure that we invite into non-public session? Dean Mooney, our clerk, any others? Cassie Hayes and Greg McKenzie. So that would be our approach. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? So we are now in non-public session with the invitation of the handful of folks.